Hey guys, so Nintendo games, not that easy. A ton of these games would cause a lot of kids grief just because of how difficult they were, and they needed a little bit of help to get through them. And that's where this book series comes in. How to win at Nintendo games. It's actually funny when I made that community post and tweeted out that, I needed help on how to win. I didn't think people were going to take that seriously. I thought more people had heard of this series and they were going to pick up on the joke. And some people did, but I think a lot of people thought I was serious and I needed help on how to win at Nintendo games.
Who do you think you're talking to?
So apparently a video like this was actually needed. Needed? These books were written by Jeff Rovin. He wrote a lot of them. I have all 4 of the main series here. So game collecting doesn't have to be just games. And I got these for a good price. They originally were sold for $4 and I got each one for about $4. The first of his books was released in 1988, which is actually the same year Nintendo Power came out. But I don't think they were trying to compete with each other. I think Jeff was doing his own thing with this series. And it really shows, and of course there are downfalls to doing strategy books like this without any pictures or maps. So he really went into detail on some of the tips and strategies, which is what these books are all about. They're all about how to win at Nintendo games, with secret codes, hot strategies, and all the top games, including Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario 2. So this is not an official book, it's not endorsed by Nintendo. Jeff did this all on his own without any input from Nintendo whatsoever. What he would do is plant his 2 sons in front of the TV, and then he would sit back and watch and take notes. I can't think of a better way to write a book about how to beat Nintendo games than watching your kids how to beat Nintendo games. Even though there aren't any pictures or maps, the book is actually really well written, very descriptive of what you're looking at on the screen. Like I mentioned, Volume 1 came out in 1988. It contains 212 pages, features 40 games with a few extra tips for like 10 or so more games. Such games like Alpha Mission, Balloon Fight, Castlevania, Contra, Deadly Towers, Ghosts and Goblins, Kid Icarus, Mega Man, Metroid, Solomon's Key, Top Gun, Zelda 2. And in the expanded volume I have here, Bubble Bobble, Jackal, Metal Gear, Mickey Mousecapade, Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2, and Wizards and Warriors. That's a lot of tips for a lot of games, and that's only a few of them that they have in this first volume. Not only does this book contain strategies and tips for these games, but it also breaks down each game into 20 different categories, such as the game type, the game's objection, the layout, the hero's powers, scoring, beginners and advanced strategies, training tips, a rating, and a review of the game's graphics and sound effects. A lot of detail in each game. For example, Castlevania, the type is horror, search, and destroy. I guess. You gotta remember this came out in the late 80s, so the terminology is going to be a little bit different from what you're used to. It's actually kind of funny. Under the objective, because you're one brave soul, you've decided to enter the monster-infested Castlevania and slay the evil count. There are 6 different floors. Do you have the courage and skill to make your way through them all? As for a scroll, the hero searches from left to right with a limited amount of top to bottom play. That is incorrect. You also go right to left in some stages, if I'm not mistaken. Hero's weakness. Getting struck by enemies robs the hero of 1 or more of his 16 power units. When they're all drained, he's dead. He also dies when he's knocked or falls off a ledge, which happens often, but I like the detail. He talks about 16 power units, and he didn't go into like detail of what monster does what amount of damage, but he did say how much life you have in the entire game. And then you have these strategies which encompass a lot. It's not just a real quick blurb. It goes over a lot of enemy strategies, where to find the pickups, enemy layouts, and behaviors. And then for his rating, apart from being fun and challenging and fraught with things to explore and discover, the game has incredible atmosphere and memorable monsters, as well as a chilling musical score. Some creaky sound effects would have been nice though. Challenges A, graphics A, sound effects B. I don't know if music counts as sound effects, but if it does, then a B for the Castlevania soundtrack, Jeff? I think he's spot on with challenge and graphics. So this is a very difficult game and it looks amazing. So A and B for Castlevania, very cool. Not only strategies are included, but he also gives you tips and tricks and codes as well. Those are usually saved for the end of the book and not included with the main 40 games. Like this tip from Mega Man, which I thought was found out recently, but apparently has been available since 1988. I'm talking about the tip with Electman's weapon. Want to boost the power of a single Electman beam or Cutman blade? Shoot, and as soon as the projectile strikes, pause the game with select, let go, and pause again, several times rapidly. Each movement of the beam or blade counts as a full, potent hit. I had no idea that players knew about this back then. That blows my mind. He goes on with a couple more codes for a couple more games, but he also has the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out special code. 135-792-4680. Push select A and B all at once to reach a new level of competition. I've actually never done that code, so I don't know what it does. I think it just kind of jumbles up the order that you fight the guys in. Maybe? But there's just so much to these books. And that was just Volume 1. Volume 2, which released a year later in 1989, comes with more tips and strategies for 31 new games, like Adventure Island, Double Dragon, Gauntlet, Ghostbusters, Gunsmoke, one of my favorites, Milon's Secret Castle, Rampage, Rygar, Section Z, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Town and Country Wood and Water Rage, or TNC Surf Designs. I don't know why it's called that. Which one is right? Is it Town and Country Wood and Water Rage? Because that's where it's listed everywhere. I know it as TNC Surf Designs. Why do I know that? Where did I get that from? He changed up his strategy section a little bit and knocked down his talking points down to like 15, other than 20 from the first one, because the first one had some weird ones like scroll type and NES Advantage. He actually had some strategies if you had an NES Advantage in the first book. He took it out on the second book, which I think was probably a smart move. And instead of new strategies in the back of this one, they add on to the strategies they gave you in book 1, featuring some of those games like Zelda 2 and Super Mario 2. Then there was Volume 3, which came out in 1990. This was the one that I had. I never had all 4 growing up, but I had this one. My friend had the first one, but this was mine. Jeff changed it up a bit in the third one, having less games, maybe like 20 or 21 featured, but the strategies are a lot longer, spanning several pages. And along with the strategies, he actually threw in codes in the strategy part. For example, in Castlevania 2, he'll give his strategy up to like the second or third castle and then throw in the code saying if you want to continue from here, input the code. I thought that was very useful. I really liked his way of explaining everything and then giving you a continue point. He also knocked down his review points down to like 12 or 13, which again was not a huge deal. I did like that he included the manufacturer of the game or the developer of the game in his strategies as well, so you know which game is like from Data East or Konami or Capcom. And once again, in the back of the book, he listed new strategies for games that he spoke about in previous books. Some strategies he might have missed in earlier volumes included in this one. And finally, Volume 4, which I didn't even know existed. I thought the series stopped at 3, and apparently not, because here's number 4. I thought this one may have came out way later than the other ones, but this one was released in 1991. This volume's at 233 pages and features about 25 games in it. This one seemed to emphasize a lot more on codes. The entire back section is just about nothing but codes on various games, whether it was covered in previous volumes or not. Some of the games featured on here are Bart vs. the Space Mutants, Batman, Castlevania 3, Double Dragon 2 and 3, Final Fantasy, The Legends of Zelda, finally, Mega Man 3, Ninja Gaiden 2, Silver Surfer, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and more Zelda 2 strategies apparently, which makes sense. That was a big game. There's a lot to Zelda 2. Once again, he knocks down his talking points down to like 8 different categories with an actual mini review at the end of each strategy. In this volume, he'll give an overall rating for the game as well as specific ratings for challenge, graphics, sound effects, and simulation. He doesn't explain what he means by simulation, and I have no idea where he's going with that one, but apparently Bart versus the Space Mutants got a B-. So did Batman. And Castlevania 3. So I have no idea where he's going with the simulation category. But anyway, at the end of this one, like I mentioned, lots of cheat codes, titled Nintendo Do's and Don'ts. It's clever. Like Back to the Future, to earn bonus points, wait until the action stops at the end of a street screen, then leap Marty as high as he'll go. And some of the codes do repeat from earlier volumes, like this one from Deadly Towers. Start the game and allow yourself to be killed. Note the password and start the game again, only this time replace the first 2 characters of the code with EF or FE, then re-input the rest of the characters. You will start now with a suit of armor that is extremely powerful. That's probably really helpful for that game. Codes for Dick Tracy, Dirty Harry, 8 Eyes, Gilligan's Island, which is actually a game I used to rent a lot as a kid that I'm still looking to add to my library. Gremlins 2 passwords. Kid Icarus passwords. There you have it, the last book in the How to Win a Nintendo Games book series. I guess that's it. There's nothing else I can talk about this book series, which is unfortunate because it actually holds a lot of nostalgia for me. I just wish there was more I could talk about it. So what did you think about the How to Win a Nintendo Games book series? Obviously it couldn't compete with magazines that had started at the time, so it kind of died off in the mid-90s. But I think for what they were, they give you a lot of tips and strategies that can really help you through a lot of these games. And I know I used my Volume 3 a lot when I was a kid. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is the part of the video where I thank those users who support the channel through YouTube memberships and Patreon. John Westby, Door, Rick67, Travis Morton, Geode, Jason Holbrooks, Mike Muniz, Sam Torres, Yaroslav Oruzov, James Burkhart, Andre G, Din Cardoso, Red Silvers, Craig Livesley, Lynn Mayer, James McEwen, Jeremy Mullins, Bob, and Batman.